So Dr. Mohamed Amin Anta is the MP for Karaga. He's also the Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance. So how close are we to the deal? What were the key issues ironed out among the bilateral creditors? And how important are bilateral debts in the context of Ghana's exposure anyway? Doc, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Bernard.
Hope you are well.
I'm doing great.
Wonderful. Can you confirm the story that is saying that, yes, China and France will lead a creditor committee work on our debts, the bilateral debts, and the IMF is saying that the board is very likely to give us the money or approve the giving of money by Wednesday? Can you confirm these?
Oh, yes, I can confirm that. The official creditor committee of the official bilateral creditors was formed on the 12th of this month, and it was co-chaired by France and China. And we were very happy that in their first meeting, they gave Ghana what we call financing assurances. This was a major requirement for the fund, the IMF, to go to the board to seek approval of Ghana's program. And so having gone through the financing assurance, we are very determined that we will go through the board approval processes, and then we will have a program after that.
How difficult was it to get to this stage in context of the Chinese and then the Europeans and Americans? Because a couple of months back, we were getting worried that the Zambia situation could play out, where for Zambia, for some reason, the Chinese in particular were not agreeing to the terms being proposed by the West. So what was different about Ghana's situation? How were we able to get the two sides to agree so quickly?
Well, it took China, I think, 17 months to get the final. It took Zambia, 17 months to get the financing assurance, and then Sri Lanka some 7 months to get the financing assurance. We have gone through these processes in about 6 months, and that is described as a record time as well. But this could not be by accident. Ghana enjoys very friendly relationship with our bilateral creditors, whether in Europe or it's China or India. And so it did not take us longer than many people expected. Also because all of them agreed that Ghana is a star country. We have been doing very well. Even before COVID, our economy was on a very positive trajectory until COVID struck globally and affected our country largely. And then also liquidity was also squeezed by the Russia-Ukraine war due to capital reversals that many countries suffered. And so they looked at our macro indicators right from the time before the external shocks, and then also were convinced that when Ghana is supported, we could bring the economy back to recovery. So these were the factors that were considered, and all the creditors were convinced that Ghana deserved that support. But let us also not forget the IMF was very forceful in making Ghana's case, and therefore they also contributed in ensuring that the financing assurances much quick.
Wonderful. While this is great news, there's still a view that the country is not out of the woods yet, because out of our total debt of $53 billion approximately, the bilateral component is about $2 billion, which is really a fraction of the total public debt. Yes, we have finished the domestic debt exchange, so that's one burden cleared. but there are Eurobonds of about 13 billion that we have yet not restructured. So in the context of the work being done to restructure our debt, looking at DDE, the bilateral arrangement that has been announced, and the Eurobonds, where would you say we are in that journey to restructure overall debt of about 50 something billion dollars?
No, I mean, actually, the official bilateral is about $5.4 billion, not $2 billion.
Okay. Okay.
And $5.4 billion is a significant amount. And so once they agreed to restructure $5.4 billion, that should give us a significant relief and also facilitate our push towards bringing the debt to sustainable levels by 2028. And so you are not expecting that we will reduce the debt level to sustainable levels this year or next year. Negotiations are going to continue, and then as the liquidity improves, and then also we get more favorable terms from our creditors, we will see the debt levels coming down eventually to sustainable levels by 2028. The financing assurance is also significant because it has sent a signal, very positive signal, to the commercial creditors, the Eurobond holders. We're talking about $13 billion. It has sent very positive signal that they also need to consider Ghana's case, particularly because the common framework which Ghana acceded to is requiring that there is what we call comparability treatment. And so if the official bilaterals have agreed, as they have, to restructure our debt, then we expect our commercial creditors also to restructure our debts in line with the comparability treatment. And so we are expecting favorable negotiations, which will help us reduce our debt size to sustainable levels by 2028.
So if I'm to interpret what you just said, the debt treatment or the terms that the bilateral committee made up of the Paris Club and the Chinese will propose will be the same we will use to our commercial creditors, like the Eurobond holders, that this is what the official creditor committee for this important group is proposing to take in terms of hits from Ghana. Therefore, at least give us the same terms, if not more. So it means that the what we will say to our Eurobond holders is almost implied in what this creditor committee will say in relation to our bilateral debts.
Well, I'm not able to say this because negotiations are yet to commence with them. And so if we get same terms, better for us. But you cannot tell at this stage. But what it means is that once the official bilateral creditors have decided to restructure, then invariably our commercial bilaterals will also restructure. But as to the form and the specific terms of the restructuring, that will come out of the negotiation.
Wonderful. Just a final point, couple of confirmations. So can you confirm that the first tranche of the 600 million will it be disbursed on Wednesday or will be approved on Wednesday?
So once we get approval, hopefully on Wednesday when the board meets, the first tranche of $600 million will come immediately. There will be immediate disbursement. But when you talk about immediate disbursement, we are giving ourselves about a week. Okay. And then there will be another $600 million coming in after the first successful review by November, December. We'll receive another $600 million. And then the remaining amount will be disbursed in equal tranches of $360 million every 6 months after successful review. But it is significant to note also that the approval of the IMF program will have catalytic effect. In other words, some other development partners and investors will invest in our country's development efforts. For example, since we applied for an IMF program, the World Bank also came along, and we have been negotiating with them. We are almost concluding negotiations for a $900 million budget support, which will be disbursed in equal installment of $300 million every year for the next 3 years. The World Bank has also agreed to support the Ghana Financial Sector Stability Fund with $250 million. We know that some of our domestic banks suffered impairment as a result of the DDEP, and we have to be able to support in addressing the insolvency problem as well as liquidity challenges in the domestic banking sector in order to make our domestic banking sector stronger. And so the Financial Stability Fund has been established, and the World Bank is committing $250 million towards that. We on our own, as a government, are committing $500 million. And then we are talking also to the Africa Development Bank to support the fund with up to $100 million US, so that we can use that money to support the banking sector. And so the IMF money will come, but it will also facilitate more money coming from other development partners to support our budget.
So when you put these monies together, the IMF $3 billion over the next 1.5 years or 2, then
over the next 3 years.
Never the next 3 years. The World Bank $900 million, the AFDB money. So in total, can you say how much we are expecting by way of injections for, say, the next 3 years?
Well, it's going to be difficult to say now because we are expecting other development partners and investors to come on board. And so it may be premature now to give you details.
Fair enough. I think the big question many Ghanaians want to know finally from you is, so what will this $600 million be used for?
Well, the IMF always provides a balance of payment support, also because the funds are going to come through the Bank of Ghana, and that should help boost our reserve, our international reserve position, culminating into increasing our import cover to at least three months of import cover. But there is also budget support, which is coming from this money, as well as the money the World Bank will provide. And you know that we have an annual budget, which is approved by Parliament. And so key projects will be supported with these funds in order to ensure that we achieve our budget objectives.
So the concern by some commentators will be that once the IMF money comes and its catalytic effect begins to be felt, the appetite to go back to the market will be strong. And in fact, when you listen to the Minister of Finance's statement recently, there are hints about the market. Should we be concerned? Because it is going to the markets frequently that has brought us here in the first place. So how soon when will Ghana go back to the market, if indeed we will at all?
Well, we will go back to the market because we are able to leverage the market to balance our financing needs. And so you have development partners supporting you, but a chunk of your inflows may come from the market. And so with the IMF approval, we are very, very confident that investor confidence in Ghana will increase. The upgrades, the institutions upgrading us will look to Ghana favorably. And then as a result of all this, we could return to market very, very, very soon.
But is that a good thing? Because going to the market means you are going to borrow. And a large chunk of our debts are commercial. In fact, 20 years ago, a lot of our debts were concessionary and bilateral. Now, if you look at the breakdown, a lot of it is euro bonds and very expensive debt, which is what has brought us here. So shouldn't we give ourselves a moratorium on going to the market to say, look, until we come out of the full IMF program in 3 years, we are not borrowing a peso from anybody on commercial terms, and actually negotiate into the discussion the need for more concessionary and bilateral type money, because the market is what has brought us here. So why are we going back there?
Well, it depends on how quickly we achieve sustainable debt levels. As I indicated, we are hoping to achieve sustainable debt levels by 2028. We're talking about 2.5 years from now. And so if that is achieved, that should pave way for us to borrow. As for borrowing, you know that we can do away from it, in as much as we do not borrow ourselves out of sustainable levels. And so going to the market is a matter of course that we'll go to the market when we have favorable conditions.
All right. Thank you for talking to us, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam. Thank you. He's the Minister of State, rather, at the Ministry of Finance. He is MP for Karaga, and he's been confirming for us that the Paris Club has given a financing assurance. Paris Club essentially is like the 20 richest countries in the world, excluding China and India, have agreed to form a joint committee with Chinese, because the Chinese are becoming an important creditor to a lot of nations, including Ghana. And there was no way we're going to see an IMF deal if the two sides did not agree on the terms under which our debt forgiveness should be. There are questions that are left, but not for this minister. There are questions around, for example, what program has government of Ghana submitted to the IMF for approval, so we can all read and police the system and know whether this program is even beneficial. And I think the last question I asked about the going back to the market obviously will be debated, because it seems as if this government is very market friendly. They don't seem to have any qualms about going to market. Whereas most of the people I've spoken to who analyze our debt say we got into this mess because of the appetite for going to their market. So to say we'll have sustainable debt levels after the IMF program and go back to the market suggests that we're going to repeat the cycle, which I'm not very happy about. But that's not the purpose of today. Today's purpose is to let people know that the money is going to come, 600 million now, another 600 million by November. If we do what we are supposed to do by the IMF class prefect standard, so you get 600 million this month, 600 million in November, 350 million in the next half year, and it goes on for the next 2.5 years.